Hey everybody, Shoebox Legends here. Thanks for joining me for a Rummage video today. Been working on an organization project here in my home office where I've moved all of the cards that I've shown in the history of the YouTube channel into brand new monster boxes and graded monster boxes, and then sorted them, by sport and then year and then set and then card number. So I have basically one little corner of my home office that contains all of the cards that I've already shown here on the channel. That way I can go back to those if I want to grab some to reference or put up as a background, whatever the case may be. But the other reason I went about doing that is I collected cards for many, many years before starting up my YouTube channel finally, late winter this past year. And so I have a ton of stuff that I want to show on the channel. And by putting all the stuff that I've already shown in one spot, it basically means everything else in my hobby room is ripe for showing for the first time here on the channel. And so I grabbed a little stack here out of a monster box of about 20 cards, I think it is. Did a quick count. These are nearly all top-loaded cards, which means, I picked these up years back, as we'll see. And at least at some point in time when I grabbed these, I thought that they were worth, putting in a penny sleeve and a top loader. So they're cards that I obviously thought, were at least decent pickups for my collection for whatever reason. So I thought it'd be fun to look back on these, kind of see if they are worth the top loader treatment now, years later, and maybe have a laugh about a couple of these. So first up, we have a Carlos Correa. This is a pro debut card from 2014 Topps. Was really big on Carlos when he broke into the league. Obviously, the Astros are not the most loved team in baseball these days, but I enjoy minor league product, so I tend to like pro debut every year. And yeah, Carlos looked like he was going to be one of the premier shortstops of the game out of the gate. And so grabbed this Quad Cities River Bandits card. Great minor league team name there. Don't think this one would get a top loader these days. If I'm being honest, I'll probably remove this and repurpose this top loader elsewhere. So we're 0 for 1 on that front. Here's a random one. I got this years back. I think this is a Laughlin World Series illustrated card. The reason I got this is pretty obvious. I'm a Red Sox fan, and for many years was a Red Sox team collector. Wanted any and every Red Sox card I could get my hands on. And I do enjoy these illustrated cards that pay tribute to previous World Series. This one's pretty beat. I mean, this corner is like chunked. We got a serious crease running down the middle of the card right across the plate here. Not a very nice condition card, but I was drawn to this because it's, even though the Red Sox were on the losing end of it, one of the more memorable World Series ever played, the 1967 miracle season there for the Red Sox is one of the best seasons, in my favorite team's history. And actually have a separate post on this or episode that I'm planning on doing on this World Series some point in the future, kind of a small collection I put together to pay tribute to that 67 series. But for now, we have this one. And again, wouldn't put this in a top loader nowadays, and I'll be freeing it because what's the point? It's already taken, about as much damage as you could expect this card to take. And so I'll be freeing that one up and repurposing that after this episode. So not doing very well here on the top loader usage from back in the day. Here's one that I got just because of my love of shine and my love of etching. A name that Red Sox fans are not terribly fond of, Rusenae Castillo. And this guy kind of got a rough shake of it, in my opinion. Obviously was a huge contract, signed as a youngster, and didn't really pan out the way that Red Sox fans hoped. But I actually think he was a decent player when he was given regular playing time, and they just messed with this guy. They moved his positions around. They bounced him up and down between the minors and the big league club, and he kind of got a raw deal. So obviously this is not a valuable card at all now, this rookie card. This is like a checkerboard prism, but it's a cool shiny card for my Sox collection anyway. And again, I would not put this in a top loader these days. So I'm freeing up some top loaders at least by going through this rummage, if nothing else. Here's a cool one. This one's not top loaded, but I love this card. This is out of the Panini Golden Age release from, it's technically a baseball set. It was really like a multi-sport set, I think, a few years back, and they had a lot of non-sport subjects. Love Jimi Hendrix. Always been a huge Hendrix fan since I first heard his stuff. As a young kid, I have a pretty extensive collection of his CDs, some rare stuff, even some vinyl. Have most everything that he's released, including right up to the recent past, in my digital music library, and I listen to Hendrix probably weekly. So happy to have that one in the non-sport and kind of music collection. I always talk about, wishing that there were more music releases out there. So there's a nice job by Panini, and I commend them on that card. Moving through the rest of the stack here, this is one of my favorite 90s parallels, and this is one that I would 100% retain in the top loader, if not move to a one-touch. These first day issue, you can see the holographic first day issue stamp there in the upper right on this really nice Jeff Bagwell with the bat rack in the background sitting in the dugout out of 1994 Topps Stadium Club Baseball. This was like a hit or miss set for most. I can totally understand why this kind of like ripped design and like the label maker foil is a little bit jarring, but I thought this set was great. It arrived in a summer in which I was, 13 or maybe even, no, younger than that. I guess I would have been 11 years old the summer that this set came out. And so obviously it was a huge fan of baseball card collecting at that point. And these first day issues were tough. I want to say they came one per box. It's generally agreed that there's maybe about 2,000 copies of each out there, which sounds like a lot, but I assure you, 2+ decades down the line, those are really tough to get, especially of Hall of Famers. If memory serves, I scored that Jeff Bagwell for about $5 on ComC, and I'm very happy with that. I'm trying to pick up the pace here. Here's a shiny Pedro. So I'm not usually big on like game cards like this. This is a Pack Wars card, but I received this one in trade, I believe, years back, and it's just too shiny not to love. It's also serial numbered here out of 56. So this felt like a significant Pedro card, even though it was from a game produced, I believe, by Topps called Pack Wars. So hung on to this one, and that one I think I would keep in the top loader just because it's numbered out of 56 and it does feature Pedro. Here's an insert of Teddy Ballgame on the 87 Topps design. This is kind of like what could have been one of those inserts that Topps produced back in 2006. Got this at a card show out of like a dollar bin, and I think it's actually a somewhat rare card if I recall. I'm not really in love with it. I prefer vintage Ted Williams from his playing days or something nice and shiny, but again, a lot of these came in at a point where I was just a Red Sox super collector. So there's what an 87 Topps Williams might look like. Here's a gloriously shiny David Ortiz. So a little bit backstory behind this one. I got back into collecting around 2007, and the way that I dove back in was buying blasters at Target down the street, and I bought a lot of this turkey red release that year, and it included, if you were very lucky, chrome cards, and then these chrome refractors. You can see this is actually labeled along the top as a refractor. This is David Ortiz, so obviously as a Red Sox and a big Poppy fan, this might be the best card that I ended up with out of those early runs of Turkey Red. I must have bought probably 8 to 10 blasters of these things back in the day when I was living in my apartment up in Mass. And yeah, so I've hung on to that one to this day, and does feature some nice kind of etching there along the jersey and elsewhere. So great card by Topps, and one that I'm happy to have and would absolutely keep in the top loader. In fact, let's put this one out on display, see if we can capture a little bit of shine here as we go through the rest of the stack. Lighting's not really doing it justice, but great card. Next few are going to be Nolan Ryan's. I peeked ahead, so I've mentioned that I was a big Nolan Ryan fan as a kid. I collect him to this day. I really haven't actively pursued him in a number of years now, but there was a period in time when I first got back into collecting where I was scooping up like his short prints and cards like this one. This is a Gaudy card from Upper Deck in 2008, I think, and these were short printed. The Nolan Ryan that year, great illustration of him here in his Angels uniform with the Derek Jeter Says, kind of paying tribute to the Lou Gehrig Says from the original 34 Goudey release. That's a nice SP of Nolan right there. Continuing on the Ryan train, here's another Goudey. This is a Sport Royalty SP. I think this is from the same set. These Sport Royalty cards are great. I think they're sneaky good cards. As the name would indicate, they cross over multiple sports. So you can get, your Tom Brady, your Sidney Crosby, your Nolan Ryan, all in this design. Upper Deck had rights to multiple sports back then. This is the type of thing that I'm hopeful that maybe we'll see again when the Fanatics era takes hold in a few years, but another nice Ryan short print there. I have a decent Nolan Ryan collection, a few hundred cards. I don't really, like I said, actively look for them these days. More interested in pursuing his vintage playing era run, but here's a mini version of that Goudey SP that we saw. Exact same card, just shrunken down to a smaller square size with a red ink back. Not sure how valuable those are these days, but those were a few dollar cards even back in the day. It's a really cool one. This is Hit Parade of Champions, I think it is. Yep, Hit Parade of Champions, also from that Goudey release. Upper Deck did some pretty cool and creative stuff back in the late 2000s when I was just getting into the hobby. These minis, these Hit Parade of Champions, included players from other sports as well. Michael Jordan, Gretzky, I believe, on Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, stuff like that. So there's a few cool Goudey Nolan Ryans. And then here's a Stadium Club short print of Nolan Ryan. This is, I think, from the 2008 release, this is before, this is sort of a one-off issue that came out before Topps revived Stadium Club into the yearly, year in and year out brand that it has become again. They had a period there where they took a hiatus on Stadium Club, but this release did come out, and just love in addition to this being a short print, love the photograph, early career photo of him here with the Mets, the amazing Mets. And then it looks like I have one more Nolan Ryan here, or maybe even two. Here's another Sport Royalty short print, courtesy of Upper Deck. Love the image on this one. I've seen this image used elsewhere, obviously, but really cool card there. And then I lied, there's a couple more Nolan Ryans here. This one I think was like an insert in the Topps flagship set in retail, maybe. I could be misspeaking on this. Don't really recall. This is from 2010, so it's over a decade old now. But of course, it's modeled after the 1951 Topps release, which, depending on your viewpoint, may or may not be the first ever Topps baseball set. A lot of people still say 52, but either way, cool card there. And then one last Nolan Ryan. I swear this one is it. This one was based on the 1960 Topps design, and this was given away at the National Convention a few years back. I did not go. I've never been to a National. Hope to change that soon, but I grabbed this one on ComC, I think, and I just thought it was neat. There are a few other players that they did these 1960 remakes of, but I like that they did up a full proper back. Kudos to Topps. And so this is a very well done, what a 1960 Nolan Ryan may have looked like. He's even capless, which was very fitting for the time. And so, yeah, there you go. Nice little run of, a handful of pretty desirable, mid-range Nolan Ryan SPs there from the late 2000s to the early 2010s. So I've got a lot of Ryan stuff like that, as I mentioned. And that was a neat little stack there. Just a couple more cards and we'll wrap this up. Here's one that I pulled myself out of a box back in 2015 of 2015 Topps Update. And I knew it was a cool card at the time, and I like it even more now. It's, of course, Mike Trout with the back-to-back All-Star Game MVP, and he's holding the glass bat that is awarded to the MVP. Nice smile there. Just a great photograph. And, of course, Topps Gold are one of the most popular parallels going all the way back to the early 90s. So not easy cards to get. And very happy that I pulled that one out of my hobby box, and I've kind of hung on to it since. And all the times I've traded cards or sold cards, that one just always kind of makes the cut as one that I just don't want to get rid of, and for whatever reason. So cool card there. And oh man, I actually have one other Nolan Ryan that was mixed in here. This is from a Donruss release that was put out in the, I think, mid 2000s, like 2004. but it pays tribute and it's designed to those like, the name's escaping me right now. I should have looked it up here, but I think Sportscaster, it might be it, where the cards that were produced in like the late 70s, they were oversized, but done on this same design and had the same basic layout and then really great photographs of, you know, the athletes of the time. So Donruss did a regular standard size card tribute to that with the same rounded corners in 2004. And these are a little bit tough. This is serial numbered out of just 35 copies. So for Nolan Ryan, that's not bad. He's obviously a very popular athlete, highly collected guy. So that's probably one of my lower numbered Nolan Ryans that I have. And then two more baseball cards here. This one's kind of cool. This is not an 84 Don Mattingly Donruss rookie, although I do own a copy of that card. One of the most iconic cards of the 80s, in my personal opinion. Love the 84 Kodak photographed Donruss set. But this one came out 10 years later, and it's an insert that is a throwback to that 84. And you can tell along the bottom here, while it is a mostly faithfully recreated back, this says Special Commemorative Anniversary Edition, number 8 of 10. So it was a 10-card insert in Donruss in 94 that featured some of their older, I think it was 94. See if there's any kind of year noted on the back here. There isn't. Yeah, actually there is. Right up here it says 1993 Donruss, printed in the USA. So this was, I believe, a 10-year throwback insert of the original Don Mattingly. And of course, the original didn't have a foil stamp on the Yankees design there. So just kind of a riff on a classic card that a lot of us who grew up in the 80s and 90s remember quite fondly. Shout out to my friend Eric, aka Hedgehog, who's a big Mattingly guy. And then last card for today. This is a really obscure one. I've mentioned a few times on the channel that I'm not a relic fan, but there are certain relics that I just think are kind of unique or cool enough that I will pick them up. And this is one of those. I paid like $1 or $2 for this on ComC back in the day. It's a Joe Madden relic from his time as the Rays manager. And this is like obviously something that came from maybe one of his shirts or suits or something like that. But I like this because I always enjoyed Madden and his antics kind of as a manager. He seemed like a very fun guy that you'd want to play for, that the players really respected. And he was sort of known for his dress. Or at least I seem to recall him being known for his dress and kind of his wild outfits and unique personality. And so I thought this was just a really neat game-used, or I guess not game-used, player-worn memorabilia from a manager. I just thought that was something you don't see every day. I think that was a good job by Topps, including that in the Allen and Ginter set back in the day. And those Ginter framed relics tend to be some of my favorite types of relics anyway. So just thought that was a neat one and have held on to it in the years since. So that's it for today. I've rambled on for almost 20 minutes. It seems to be my going rate is about a minute per card, so I guess that makes sense. But there you have it. Just some random cards that have been kicking around in my collection for years that I wanted to dust off and have them get to see the light of day again here on the channel. So I hope you saw something that you appreciated in this mostly baseball segment. And either way, I'll certainly be back in the near future with some more sports card content. Until then, take care.